Do-over, here we go.
Yes. Oh,
Okay,
what was that? What are we doing?
Go on, go on, go on. It sounds like something you find in your penis.
Oh, God.
I got my feet in cement, I got my head in the clouds. You might call me demented, but I am too damn proud. I got a hunger for something outside the status quo. So pull up your chair. We are full automatic, we are out and about. We are singing hallelujah with our hearts torn out. No need to beat on what you already know. Your place has been set.
I'm lost. Are you masturbating?
We're all going to hell. You're so fucking ugly.
Fuck you, motherfuckers. I'll fuck who I want. Yeah, jealous, you like it.
Don't judge me.
Do not call me a fucking onion.
Christ.
Such an angelical, lively bunch tonight, aren't we?
Cha-ching.
I smell lunch.
Ladies, we are back. This is Eat This Hot Show. I'm the lesbian Madge Weinstein here with my co-hosts de jour, or Deanima, or Anima. I have Debra Wilkerson McCain and Ragan Fox.
Yes.
We are so excited to be back. We are on hiatus from Eat This. What is it called? Pod Save the Queens. So we
I'd
thought,
save the queens.
so we thought we would do Eat This Hot Show for a while, and we're just gonna sow our oats. And I'm going to hand it off to Debbie. She's going to sort of moderate this first show, and I just wanted
Well,
to
Yeah.
we should say that we extended an invitation because in the early days of Eat This Hot Show, around 15 years ago, when the biggest girls, both in terms of mass and popularity, came together to make Eat This Hot Show. It was me, it was Wanda Wisdom, it was Richard Bluestein, and it was these
Richard
two
Bluestein.
potatoes from a show called
Richard
Beast of-
Bluestein.
Oh, sorry. Madge Weinstein.
Do-over.
Do-over, girdle spillover. But we all came together, but then we had a big falling out, and it made for very compelling entertainment. People took sides. It was the Marvel Captain America Civil War of queer podcasting.
It was the original WandaVision.
It was
It
the
was-
original drama, to be honest, on the internet. That was like a big drama thing. I think if it happened today, somebody would make a drama video about it and make about $15 million.
And our luck would be we wouldn't have seen a dime from it. Other people would have profited from our drama. But we want you to know that we invited Wanda back. Madge sent her an email. We love Wanda. We invited her back in whatever capacity she would like. And she was so gracious in her response and said, I would love to come back sometime in the future. And so there's no weirdness.
There is one sort of caveat, which is that I did tell her to come back. She has to gain the weight back because we need fat Wanda. We need fat Wanda.
I
Bigger
agree.
girl Wanda. Yeah.
We need a bigger
Chicken,
girl.
skinny chickie boobies. You know, she looks good, but I like plump Wanda. I do like plump Wanda. I must tell the truth.
Right.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm going to eat her portions, and I'm going to try to
Her
get to
abortions?
that size. Her,
Honey,
yeah.
it looks like you have been eating her portion.
I have been eating a little bit. I've deep fried everything now. It's deep fried diet, and I feel like it's the wave of the future. You know.
You know that's just around the corner, right? Because when I heard what the keto diet was, that it's like, just eat a bunch of hamburgers and meat, and nothing else, no vegetables, just all meat. And so there's going to be the fried food diet at some
Well, yeah, you fry everything in almond flour. You know, when I was doing the keto and I got really thin, and Madge was like, you're going to die. You're going to drop dead of a heart attack. And I was like, no, honey, I'm deep frying everything in almond flour, and I was doing really good.
Well, Tampon Tammy was on the keto diet, and then she killed herself.
Well, you know, so, well, da, 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 da. I mean, I don't know. It does make you depressed.
Top
It does
that.
make you depressed, though. That is true.
Jesus Christ, I have a sound effect for that. And I can't find it. Oh,
Da, da, da.
yeah, hold on. Where is it? Should that be under? Oh, you know what? It's too late. It's too late.
When it told me that I'd have fun. Didn't.
It kind of works.
Yeah, I wanted to do dun dun dun, but I don't know where it is.
It's a
I don't know
great
where
sound
it is.
effect.
Thank you.
So are we ready to start? I mean, so
Yeah,
basically, I think we
we're
should
ready.
explain to the girls who we are, just for the ones that are just joining. Would y'all like to do that real fast?
Sure.
Okay. So, Madge, would you like to tell the girls who you are?
No. My
No?
name is Madge Weinstein. I'm a lesbian with food allergies. I started doing my program, Yeast Radio, which is currently in between seasons because we have seasons now. I didn't used to have seasons, but I started having seasons because I realized that all these wonderful professional podcast turds who have producers and 17-year-old slaves to do all the work so they can say, play that clip, Dan. They have seasons, so I thought I would have seasons, which means I get to have a break. Anyway, yeastradio.com. I'm a lesbian. I was one of the first podcasters. I started a whole lot of shit, and I get no credit for it. And but I'm still doing it. I'm still here. I'm still here like Ellen Stritch used to sing. I'm still here. And I'm old.
Exactly.
Next.
Reagan.
My name is Ragan Fox, and I'm a professor at Cal State Long Beach, and I have absurdly long hair and pigtails right now. I'm a 44-year-old non-practicing bottom, or as I like to call it, a nomosexual, because I have nomosex. And if any of you are interested tops and you're aggressive and you like to shake your bottom and go, shut up, just shut up, and then throw them down on the bed and have your way, do sex on them, I'm your gal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's this? Yeah.
That's my insight.
What's this?
I think I would add to that, because I was telling the girls the other day, I said Reagan is wonderful slam poetry. Like, I do think you're really good at that. But so maybe rename it Slam Bottom? Would that be a proper?
I love that. Although I have to tell you, Debbie and I are addicted to gaming, and we game on Twitch and stuff, and we have a whole community that we play with, and they're a lot of fun. We played with this one guy named Booster, and he has come up with a name for a particular type of bottom who smokes pot all the time, and he calls them potholes. And I love it. I love it.
It sounds smelly though, because like I don't know. That's good.
I thought you were going to
It's
say
good.
potom. I think a potom.
Potom?
Oh, a bottom is also
Well, no,
really
a bottom
good.
could be a younger bottom, maybe like mid-20s, that's just getting there and it hasn't been messed up yet,
Well, you know what they're
And then
calling
pothole.
you know what they're calling the chubby bottoms now? Hippopotamus. It's terrible. I don't like that at all. It's not very fat positive.
It's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not trans fat. It obviously, I am a 68-year-old premier granny gamer, and I don't just game. I game on my Twitch, and also have my YouTube channel that I'm sure some of you girls might know. And that's what I do. Church of Debra. I just do my little videos, and that's a full-time job. So that's.
But
me,
now I'm going to
everybody.
say that I got turned on to Deborah a long time ago when, of course, she was a fan of my show for years, but I didn't hear from her until she started doing her own shows. And then she would do these crazy prank phone calls. And I think the first one I heard that really made my basement flooded was when you called some steak knife company where they sell the steak knives, and you were Mrs. Garrett from the Facts of Lives, and you were trying to order the different steak knives for your girls, for Tootie, Natalie, and Blair. Hence the constant references for the girls, the school for girls. There's a whole lexicon, general audience, and
There
really need
is.
to listen to it and check out our old podcasts and learn. There's a rabbit hole to dig for.
And I am so happy that grum is a word that you created with Cheryl.
Right.
And and so I've got to give her some
Right.
props there with
Right.
y'all. But
Right.
other girls that do shows now call them grums, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. And I hope you get some type of royalties like Reagan does.
I noticed that. Yeah, it's also. By the way, no, I'm not going to go there. Never mind. I don't want to
So-
be too tangential.
So could we slide into some topics? Are y'all ready to slide into some topics?
Absolutely.
I would love an appetizer and a moose bouche.
All right. So first topic, why I think abortion should be mandate. No, I'm just playing. So I would like to discuss some of these states. Iowa, Mississippi, Montana, and obviously Texas have lifted their mask mandates,
Wait,
ladies.
Iowa
and I would
too?
Yeah,
Iowa was
Iowa
just-
too.
What, did that just happen
It's-
today?
So no, this was all at the same time, basically. And what's kind of sad is I feel like Texas is getting like the biggest, boost in the media about it, and obviously Mississippi. But I do want to throw in Iowa and Montana also are doing this, in my opinion, a horrible, horrible, horrible death sentence to their people. But I would like to get y'all's ideas and what you think about this.
Well, I think it's a death sentence. It's murder, basically.
It is. It's awful. It's so incommensurable with the data that's coming out of these states. Of course, Texas is getting a lot of coverage because Texas is the third largest state in the United States. It ranks 48th of all 50 states in vaccinations. It has currently the fifth highest death rate per capita from COVID-19, and it's ninth in newly reported cases of COVID-19 as of Wednesday. And it blows my mind that Abbott is opening up the state without these restrictions. I mean, I get it. Look, if you want to open up the state because you want to help the economy, fine, but you have to make people wear masks. These are not mutually exclusive positions. And if you ask me, he's doing it because he is trying to draw attention away from the power grid failure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Sure. And the thing is that he uses that buzzword personal responsibility, which is that sort of theme that Republicans use. And the idea is that, personal responsibility is you don't need to have a mandate because people are going to be responsible for themselves, that they're going to. But the problem with the personal responsibility issue is it affects other people. So my lack of personal responsibility kills other people. And that's,
totally.
I mean, it's just, here's what I don't understand. This is my question for you ladies. Why can't Biden override that? Can't we have a national mask mandate that overrides what dumb governor does?
So he already put one in place, but that only affects federal lands and federal buildings. So we in the United States, we have this big separation between federal government and state government, and he doesn't want to tread on that separation.
Okay, but hold on. So you're saying he doesn't want to, not that it's not constitutional.
I don't think he can.
It'll be held up. Yeah, I think it'll be held up in courts, if I'm not mistaken, basically, right? So even if he decides to try to say he has power to do that, since it's like a national quote, he can put it under like national emergency. So like how Trump was trying to put the wall under that. But I think it's just going to be held up in courts. And then at that time, which this is what Abbott and the Republicans want, they want to be able to have that as a boogeyman to sort of chip at the Democratic Party right now.
What?
That's like the new
boogeyman
thing is federal law trying to take over the state rights all of a sudden. Right.
Texas cared more about Miss Mona's whorehouse than the pandemic, and it drives me crazy. After what happened with the power grid failure, the people of Texas should be running Abbott and Patrick out of the state. They should be storming the Capitol and being like,
And those two bitches that left, they better learn to sell pussy in Iceland, because if I ever see them again, I'm gonna cut their fucking throats.
That's what I would say. And that Dan Patrick is just the worst. He's the one who came on all of those television shows, not sperming,
right.
But he came on all those television shows and said that we should sacrifice the elderly. We should sacrifice the Debra Wilkersons and the Madge Weinsteins because they would be happy to sacrifice themselves for the economy. Well, speak for yourself.
But then that's the theme that branches us off to, and I don't get too far in a tangent, to another governor of a different party over in New York. And this is the theme that I've noticed about this idea that you can just sacrifice old people. And the point is related to his scandal. I don't know if that's a hot topic, but the whole, what this is what shocks the shit out of me, and I can't fucking get over it, is I feel like the reaction to the sex scandal is 10 times bigger than the reaction to the nursing home scandal. And
totally.
The idea of the nursing home scandal really, it's like, and to me what it says is, you are a non-productive member of society, you don't matter. But if
they're going to die anyway.
But who matters? Women that are CEOs, women that are in power positions, their rights aren't being respected. They're being fondled or whatever, kissed when they don't want to. That is more important because these are valid economy producing members of society. Old people, fuck them, go to the nursing home.
And I will say, and a lot of times I don't agree with my twin sister, McCain, but I do think I'm glad she has been harping that on The View and trying to really, push that issue, because I think it is kind of, to be honest, if I can say, it's kind of fucked up. Like, we're able to sweep that under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're moving on to, which I think it's totally fine to bring this to the table. Obviously, he shouldn't be doing any of that shit, but this should be this is like people that won't have grandmother or their grandfathers around. If you put somebody in a home, it just fuck them. No, it should not be excused. He should be charged for that. And then his bullying behind his tactics where he told the guy like he'd basically ruin him if he went public with it and all. It's just disgusting. And it shows in this country it's all about power.
That was actually a Grindr message, and the exact quote, you're taking it out of context, just like a liberal would do. The actual message was, I will ruin your hole. I will come over there if you host.
You'll wreck it.
I will bend you over, and I will wreck that hole.
I seen that movie.
Did you?
There's like 20 different, I think Treasure Island, Wreck My Hole, Whore, something like that. It's
Sean Cody presents.
But they're not that wrecked. And by the way, in porno movies, nobody does cum shots right. I should have stayed in that business. They don't know how to do it. It's like pull out and then jack off for 20 minutes and then you jizz 3 drops on their stomach. That's not a cum shot.
Ask Jeffrey Toobin. I think he would know. Okay.
Does that get me kicked off YouTube to talk about that?
No, this isn't monetized. You're fine.
Oh.
It's only when you try to but see, they will run, what's funny is, so they will run ads on all the videos now. So even though you can't make no money off
as long as I don't make money off it, I'm okay.
They're going to make some money off that cum shot.
Can I say...
Madge, you are perpetually in a prison of not making any money out of your art. You are Sisyphus rolling your rock up
but
the
you
hill.
know, I think you could if you contact when you were on the Sirius XM or it was before the XM. Whatever it was before the Sirius. Maybe there's some type of royalty deal you could get.
AM radio?
Under the...
I'm going to take over Rush Limbaugh's spot.
What's our next hot topic? I'm done with this.
All right. So this is a little light, but...
Not like your weight. What the fuck is that?
So
you have to explain it. Remember, we have an audio audience, so explain what you see.
So what I am showing everybody and what the girls at the YouTube can see is Amazon revamped their UI and their icons on their mobile devices a couple weeks back, and they chose the app icon on the left, which is a cardboard box, right, with a smiley face on it, right, you know, like one always has, and they got a lot of backlash, especially on the social media. I'm not going to say so. Sorry. What did you say, Madge?
Back rolls.
Back rolls.
Girl, look how orange you fucking look, girl.
And so social media went insane. You would have thought these people were about to vote for Medicare for all. But anyway, so the biggest trend on Twitter was Amazon's Hitler app icon, which forced there was tweets to cancel. No, not to cancel. Not to cancel Amazon because one, they treat their workers like shit. Two, they are union busting companies. That it's fucking horrible. Not free healthcare, but not that. Let's cancel Amazon because they lost Debbie's PS5. Not to cancel Amazon for any of that stuff, but to cancel it because apparently this icon to the left, which shows the little squiggly tape line, is Hitler and his mustache. And so Amazon rushed overnight. Now, this is what I thought was funny. They rushed overnight to fix this because they didn't want to get canceled, which shows the updated icon. They even made the tape smaller and not so it would not look like a mustache. They said, why don't we take the corner of the tape and fold it up? And so they folded the tape up. And then what was funny, which this is kind of weird, somehow you didn't even have to update the app. It just pushed to the iOS devices and the Android. So overnight, somehow they're able to get into the phone to change the icon.
Great. So the NSA had to hack it because they...
I don't know what they had to do this without an update, but there was not a forced update to change the icon on my phone.
They used
everybody's
a secret, what do you call it, vulnerability to upload this?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So everybody can rest fine. Biden should have never backed the union that wants to start with Amazon because it's all fine now. Right. They're not doing the Hitler mustache.
Debra, that's clearly not a Hitler mustache on the box.
See the stain? That's for me. Squirting.
I mean,
That's not
listen,
pee, that's squirt.
And this pulls in, and when I hope we can pull this in, obviously, to the true cancel of the week, which I have a hard time keeping up. And
Wait.
when I say this, I
Can
don't
we talk
want...
about? I want to comment on this before you move on.
Comment.
Yeah, I have a video to show.
Because the thing is, first of all, I have relatives, great aunts, great uncles who I never met because they were killed in gas chambers, and I have this app. It never in a million years occurred to me that was Hitler. So first of all, that's insane. Second of all, are you sure this isn't just some onion thing? This really happened?
No, this
Who the
really
fuck would
happened.
see Hitler? And then, of course, the biggest point is what you already mentioned. Like, how on earth the distraction? There's some thing that happened in our collective brains that makes us get upset about stupid things and take action against stupid things instead of things that matter. And that's what I can't fucking figure out.
I think you're completely wrong. I think that this is virtuous outrage. No, I'm kidding. It's not Hitler. It's a cardboard box. It reminds me of another controversy that's happening right now with Mr. Potato Head, where they're just making Mr. Potato Head because you could take the potato and make it male or female based on the things that you plug into the potato, right? And so all of these people online are like, no, this is biology. Biology is male or female. It's a fucking potato, okay?
Right.
And there's no gender.
Deborah, can you pull up my JPEG from the holder for the potato, please?
Yes.
I didn't realize we were going to talk about it, but it's appropriate because there was a similar controversy. The Republicans were very upset about Mr. Potato Head, so they posted something about that, which I'm not sure how long I can vamp on before Deborah pulls up the image.
It's up.
Oh, yeah. Conservatives demand Mr. Potato Head retain his giant, veiny potato dick. See, that's the thing. Because people think it's non-gender potato. It's not. It has a huge cock, and it's veiny, and it's thick.
Oh, my God.
And please don't. What is that thing you called me when I did it on the Queen show? Or like, what am I doing? I'm exoticizing Mr. Potato Head because he's brown. No, he has a huge cock. It's not. I didn't make it up. He has a huge cock.
And it continues to grow.
Oh, really? Oh, because of the eyes?
I'm outraged that Mr. Potato Head doesn't give head. We need it to be a flesh potato, like a fleshlight that sucks deek. Okay, so
but the best headline was, congratulations, Mr. Potato Head is now non-gender. You still don't have health care. That was my favorite.
You know,
exactly.
Don't y'all feel sometimes that maybe there is like, if you want, okay, now this is conspiracy music, okay, but sometimes I wonder if which we know the Republicans have done this, and I'm not saying that Democrats could not be in on this too sometimes, but do you think that there is some advertising company or something out there that sits in a think tank and is like, we need to create fake outrage that'll pull, the media this way, so when we're busting unions for Amazon comes out with their think tank and says, why don't you push this out on social media? We'll, play outrage with this Hitler mustache. And so the news is taking off, especially like this week with Biden backing the Amazon union. And it sort of just pulls off of that.
No.
No.
I think
it's just dumb America?
I think systems, are people are composed of that make up systems, just like our brains are made out of little cells, and our body is made out of cells, and it creates an amazing organism. So the shit like this just works. I mean, if you have proof, it could be conspiracy, but you got to have proof. I don't know.
It becomes a story. The story is how stupid it is that people are outraged about it. So I want to show this video that it is fascinating. That to me is very. Can you see my screen now?
No, I see your face.
Oh,
and I see Hitler.
The worst thing to look.
Oh, there we
go.
Yeah, we
We're
see
good.
it.
Okay, so. Here we go. This reminds me, people, this is like a Rorschach test. I've been saying that a lot over the last couple of weeks, but people see what they want to see. And it's more a reflection of what's going on in their demented souls.
Look at your M closely. There's a gap right here in the letter M. It's never connected. So you go into Hebrew. The letter Vav is also the number 6. Short top, long tail. short top, long tail. You could have here in Hebrew 666 on the can. But my interest is the word monster. What do you see in the O? There's a cross. Okay. What has Christ got to do with an energy drink, let alone the name Monster? So I thought, well, maybe this is a Christian company then. BFC at the bottom of the can. Do you know what that stands for? That's the F word. Big can.
What? Where did
In
the
fact,
F
they
word
write
come
it
from?
on the side of the can, so I know that's the F word.
Wait, she lost me where
Now,
I
do you
don't.
know what a MILF is? Yes.
What?
That's on the box.
This can't be
Don't
real.
stick it, and you will too. This is not a Christian company at all.
It's not
So
Christian!
why would they have a cross on the can? Here's the message. Antichrist. 666 in Hebrew. And then the Bible talks about the beast in Revelation. And look at Monster's
It's
hat.
doing too much.
This is their statement.
This is more than Reagan students
You know,
would do.
I got to
This
tell
is-
you, what upsets me most about that is this horrible-haired shiksa is telling me about Hebrew letters. Honey, don't even imply the fact that you understand Hebrew, because you are not a member of my tribe. No way. No way.
She would have
Think
been
she's-
really. Go ahead, Deb.
Just go ahead.
She's falling out.
You know, if it wasn't for QAnon, I would say, oh, whatever. That's fake. Never mind. Just go
But
ahead.
no,
right?
there are people who are clearly invested. I like her, and she has this whole rant. And you're going to look at that can and see every possible. We were talking about queering when we do Pod Save the Queens. You know, what we do is we queer, and then I think people Satanify. You know,
She's Sataning.
They're looking for Satan. They're looking for the symbols. They're looking, and we do this with Hitler too. I'm just kind of making this connection now.
Right.
Anybody who disagrees with you politically is Hitler. And to me, the funniest part is when super conservative nationalists claim that people on the left, like AOC, are Hitler. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, no, that fascism is a movement of the right, not of the left, but it doesn't. Or Karen. Well, I've talked about Karen-offs, where you have everybody calling each other Karen right now. You are going to project Karenism onto anything that disagrees.
Do you guys know what backmasking is? Do you know what that is?
No.
So
Sounds
backmasking
hot, though.
it was popular in the late 70s, early 80s, and I learned to be a DJ. We had a very advanced, like, high school DJ thing. So, and our teacher taught us about backmasking. And it's basically these crazy ladies would go around and play rock music backwards and show you there were satanic messages in them. Like, if Stairway to Heaven would be like, I want to be Satan. I sounded like some other people, but like you play all these songs backwards, and you can make them sound like whatever you want to, which is satanizing.
Okay, so that does make sense. So the people that do the audio ghost thing, so they'll go into a house and they'll put the recorder right, and then they hear something. But then what they do is when they play it back, they tell you what it's going to say. So like, okay, so let's say,
real.
oh, I'm going to play this, and a ghost is going to say, you know, Dirty Jana, right? And so here I'm going to play this clip. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, it said Dirty Jana. It said Dirty Jana. The ghost said Dirty Jana. And then everybody cannot unhear it because it's just
okay. But then since you brought that up, then I need you to play another screenshot that I put in the holder. And
tweet?
I don't know if it's a tweet. I don't know if this was real or not. But there was a tweet.
This is so rich.
It looked serious to me. Are you able to pull it up, Debbie?
So which one? I've got a tweet that you put out about this is so rich. Some people who told me not to criticize Biden.
No, not that one.
Okay. So the cousin?
No.
That's the only one she
got
got in
Is there a JPEG? Oh, I didn't do it.
No,
Darn.
no.
Oh, well. Sorry.
I think you're overreacting, Miss Crawford.
And I think you're underreacting, Mrs. Chadwick.
So since we're talking about outrage and finding things, did we want to go ahead and lead into Dr. Seuss? Did y'all girls want to talk about that?
Let me just read my tweet first, because I'm sorry. It's so funny. And then you can do the Seuss. The cat.
I have a tweet from you about Biden.
So this person tweeted, her name is Luminary Wings. Stop masturbating to spiritual people if you don't have consent. We can see you, feel you, and our guides will Also, tell us your name. And then she added, it was a 2-part tweet. Honestly, just ask the person you want to masturbate to if you can. You might be surprised who says yes. And if you can't contact that person and ask, then you definitely have no right or place to be masturbating to them. Fucking up people's sacral and your own. It's raggedy. Stop. So that means I can't masturbate to Sylvia anymore? Do you guys have connection with...
I've heard this before.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, so this was the thing on TikTok where they would do the TikToks.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh.
Lauren. Well, just to bring it back to me, I grew up in the political system. My daddy ran for president 3 times.
Oh, you're
and I know what it's like to struggle. And Arizona, I just said we got to listen to these Trump people, my daddy, times 5, my daddy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These are real Americans.
Okay.
Did your clip not work, Ragan?
Oh, no, I accidentally pressed...
Oh, was it an accident?
My headphones keep messing up. Nothing can go correct.
So, do we want to lead into Dr. Seuss, or do we want to go to a line? Okay, since it sort of ties it in, I would like to get y'all's thoughts on Dr. Seuss. And let me just put this up on the screen. And this is what I was talking about when I say every week, in which my opinion will be a little bit different than this, but I do feel like not even every week, sometimes it's like every day, I launch Twitter and there's a new outrage and I have to sort through to figure out what's real. Outrage.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. And so there's a new outrage almost every day of who we're canceling and all this stuff. And sometimes I just get so overwhelmed because I cannot understand, is there truth in this, or is this the Amazon mustache, Hitler mustache all over again? And so I had looked up some of these books, and I think it was like 6 books that are not going to be printed anymore. And apparently now they're going for like $50,000 on eBay. But I did want to get y'all's thoughts on this. I looked at some of the photos. I can understand why somebody would see obviously stereotypes in this, especially when these books are so old.
Do you have the photos? I want to see them. I'm looking for the photos.
Well, I wasn't sure if we could show them.
Why?
Well, because they're race. I don't know if it'll get us.
We're having an academic conversation about them because we're trying to. Like the Chinese?
Yeah. See, I don't know what YouTube's policy is on that.
I don't care. Play it. It's my channel. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Dr. Seuss.
Good Lord. This is freedom of speech. Freedom of expression.
That's the problem. And see, that's what I said before. It's like you don't know.
Well, if we were going to have this conversation, we're going to show the images. We're discussing them. And if YouTube wants to shut us off, then I'm just going to have dinner early.
Yeah, no, you can have academic conversations about controversial imagery. I'm looking at some of the images now. I guess I can share my screen.
Yeah, but the bot may not know that. That's the issue.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. So, like, David Pakman's been taken down before for being racist. I'm going to show him. I got him.
So this is interesting because one of the things with automation, when we were talking about Amazon, and Debbie was rattling off some of the ways that Amazon is an unethical company, they have computers that follow the Amazon employees and they get in trouble based off of an algorithm where the computer is determining the human's behavior.
I don't even know what I'm looking at, Debbie. These are so small.
So hold on. I'm making it bigger, honey.
Oh, they're monkeys?
Can you see that? Yeah, this is one of the books. I think this is when we go to the zoo. This is another book. Obviously, it's showing, it's portraying, Asians in an unsavory light. Can you see this?
Yeah,
one?
see, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on it because, I hate cancel culture when, you have to separate the artist from the art. And if you're talking about the artist was an anti-Semite or a bigot, but the art itself is not. Like, I'm a huge fan of Wagner. He was a virulent anti-Semite. But I still listen to him. It's fine. I separate the art from the artist. But in this case, it looks like the art is pretty racist. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, and there's...
and then you're not canceling everything. It's just some of his books, right? I don't know.
And what I think could be done with this, obviously, I think there needs to be context with this. Because...
Here's another image that I'm putting up on the screen right now.
What is that? So what is that? Big dicks for?
My name's Chris Crusoe Robinson.
This is Dr. Seuss?
And this is, I mean, it's a pretty racist depiction.
Can you read it?
I mean,
describe it, because people might not see it.
Yeah, so it's like a black person meant to be like a native person on an island, and done in a way that exaggerates lips, and I mean, stuff that you would immediately look at and say,
it's a minstrel show character, basically.
So here's the thing. All his estate is saying is that I don't think that this is canceling Dr. Seuss. That's what conservative media has turned it into. But his estate has said, look, we hear the critiques of some of this imagery, and these 6 books out of over 100 books, by the way, we're not going to mass produce anymore. We're going to make out of print. And it's very common for books to eventually go out of print.
And these are for children. These are for children.
Yeah.
And if you're a black child, how would you feel looking at that? See, we're all white people looking at this too, so we're not necessarily the best people to judge this, but if you were a black kid or an Asian kid and you saw that depiction of yourself, or you're a parent, I mean, I think you might be a little heartbroken to see that. And I can kind of see why, these aren't. It would be one thing if these were books for adults, but they're not. So
and the thing is, all they have to do is redo the books. If the literature is so like it has to be seen, right? Just redo the book. But this is what I was talking about.
Well, then you're
earlier,
talking about revisionism and Orwell stuff. So that's also problematic.
But the thing is, I'm saying if you still want the kids to be able to view it. But what I feel like is in the beginning, because this happens every freaking day with someone else is canceled, okay? Mm-hmm. At first,
but let's be careful. They're not. This is not being canceled. This is books.
No.
As of right now, if you go on Twitter, they want it all. Some people do want all of it canceled. I'm just saying. People on Twitter are just different people.
But that's different from.
But what I'm trying to say. Yes, totally. Okay. I'm just stating, because we live in such a time where every day we have to find new outrage. You're just stating?
I thought you already had your baby, Megan.
Listen, I have a sister of color, and so therefore I can say what I want to say.
Cheryl doesn't count, honey.
But what I'm saying is that when I first heard this, I was like, oh, are you kidding me? And I was like, this is stupid. Mm-hmm. Because every day this happens. And so when it's people crying wolf, so when it really is, and after I read about this, I'm like, okay, yeah, these books need it. They're pulling their own stuff. It's his own family that owns this stuff. They say, hey, times have changed. This is kind of fucked up. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
So basically,
and they're getting rid of it.
So basically, we all agree. So it's a boring hot topic.
Well, it's not boring, but I do think they're. It's just
the most interesting part about this hot topic is what we started off where we were afraid to show these images on YouTube. That's what
that's what I'm talking about, because things you're constantly. It's like you're constantly trying to find the next. You're chasing the white dragon when it comes to cancel culture. So what's next is we've got to find something even outrageous, and therefore we got to cancel anybody that shows these images now. And that's I'm sure there is somebody out there that's seen where we showed these photos was said, well, obviously they need to be canceled. All I'm saying is the fake outrage hurts when there's valid causes of things to change, especially with Dr. Seuss. Because I bet you half of the Republicans hear this and they're not listening and they're not researching this information.
So Adam Curtis is a fantastic British documentary maker. He recently made a new documentary called Can't Get You Out of My Head. It's a 4-parter. And one thing he said, he was interviewed on Chapo Trap House. I was listening to it this morning. One of the things he said that's particular that he's noticed about this sort of today's society and with all the social media is that everybody acts like they're being watched all the time. And we just demonstrated that.
Well, what Ragan said about
being
Amazon.
Watched. And even when we're not being watched, we act like we're being watched.
Yeah, Michel Foucault has a concept for this. He uses there's a prison that Jeremy Bentham built called the Panopticon, which is a prison in the round with the guard tower in the center. And the benefit of doing that is that at any given moment, a person in the watchtower can look and see any of the prison cells. Mm-hmm. And so that makes the prisoners police themselves, because they feel like I never know when I'm being watched, so I have to assume that I'm always being watched, right? And it's a very economical way to get people to police themselves. But I remember, Madge, when podcasting first came to iTunes, and you would get so angry at people who would mark their shows as explicit because you were like, why are you censoring yourself?
Right.
The problem is, and I do think a lot of people, I hear this a lot, especially I do watch The View and I love Sunny, but she loves to say, you know, you're just, whatever you do, right? That should be, you should always be policing yourself in your mind. You know, don't say anything bad then if you don't want to be canceled, right? But the problem is the rules change from day to day. So like one joke today, which we all might agree, like, okay, I'm making a joke like, I could do a voice changer, right? Do a voice changer. And then 5 years down the road, I was making fun of a disabled person because Stephen Hawking used a voice changer. I mean, things change.
Well, Dave Weiner posted the other day on Twitter, who's the inventor of podcasting on RSS, and I've been working on him on this Cuomo podcast. But he said the other day, like, how do people working at the New York Times know what's going to be offensive in 5 years? How are they able to write stories today that won't offend people in 5 years that aren't going to get them fired later? You know, it's really sad.
And did y'all watch the HBO movie? It went straight to HBO, The Witches. Did y'all watch that remake with Anne Hathaway?
Yeah.
Okay. So that movie came out and it's based off of it's a retelling of, huh?
Oh, it was a very ugly person. Go ahead.
That's Cheryl. It's Cheryl. Yeah. It's Anne Hathaway.
So she did, it's a retelling, it's a reboot of the movie. I didn't think it held anything up to the original.
She has balls on her chin. Look, she has balls on her chin.
So this is the original witch. This is the new witch. So this movie came out and they're witches. In the book it's described that their hands are sort of one finger in the middle, with one nail. The feet are very different. Mm-hmm. So this came out, and Anne Hathaway and the director, they all had to put out a statement because people that are not able-bodied, so people, let's say some people that hands are disabled in some way, started a whole cancel movement. Let's cancel the witches because it showed people with different disabilities. As I'm saying this now, don't cancel me for saying this, quote, as freaks, as someone to be scared of, when obviously if you watch the movie, they're not starting the basis of somebody that's disabled at a disabled conference and then, start eating children, right? They're witches that are described in the book as witches in cat-like features with their legs and their nail. And it's fiction. It's no different than like the fake outrage towards if Little Mermaid gets remade and there's a black person. It's a mermaid. Why does it matter?
I'm of two minds of this. So when the story first broke and I saw that Anne Hathaway made a comment, I read what was happening and I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me, right? But I just want to reason by comparison. For such a long time, depictions of gay and lesbian and bisexual and transgender people, every time you saw somebody who was a sexual minority, they were depicted as villains or as trying to seduce children or kill children or kidnap children. And it was like repetitive. And that is a crisis of representation right there that called for intervention. And some of the earliest LGBTQ activism focused on saying, hey, we have to reverse course on the way that our people are depicted. So I could because I'm able-bodied, it was difficult for me to understand and appreciate probably how people who are not able-bodied are repeatedly depicted as monstrous in the media. So I don't know if I don't want to put the critique of the movie in the same camp as cancel culture. It's important for people to come out to engage in consciousness raising and say, hey, every time we see somebody, like I think of American Horror Story Freak Show and how Evan Peters' character had the flipper hands. And that was actually a positive representation. He was more heroic on that show. So their point that gets picked up by media and can be distorted by other media outlets in a number of different ways. But to me, their point is more, look, does it have to be that 99% of the time where we see somebody who doesn't walk right or has has something like a hunch on their back or some type of deformity has to be depicted in a villainous way?
But the point is in this story, they're not disabled people. These are witches. I understand your point about being gay, but in a show where you're portraying a gay person, I can understand seeing that, right? Because it makes sense. You're portraying a gay person and you're saying you're just using this stereotype. But in this movie, they were never portrayed as deformed people, because before they turn into their full form, they're normal, and then they're secretive witches. It's not a real thing.
I think really, I don't see why it's offensive to people with a baby hand or whatever, because that doesn't look like a baby hand. I think this is offensive to chickens. I mean, those are chicken hands.
Yeah, that's exactly that. You know what? That is exactly what a chicken's foot looks like.
Right, and I see chickens every day, and I get a little tear in my eye, and no, it's not squirt; it's a real tear when I see these chickens. And I think you poor chickens have been depicted negatively in a movie by Anne Hathaway, and thankfully she apologized, but she didn't apologize to the chickens, and I'm a little sad for that.
It's not her chicken foot, it's the color of her makeup.
Girl, look how orange you fucking look, girl.
Again, I feel like we're pulled away, especially when this happened, it was the Trump administration, we're pulled away from like policies that are affecting people with disabilities. Like there's your like Medicare for all, and your outrage should be spent on that.
Meanwhile, you have people who cannot get vaccinated who have serious disabilities.
Yes.
But we're talking about chicken hands. I mean, I don't know.
But see, and I think this is the overall thing. It's like, it's always something else to edge off to.
Turbo Hand in our chat made an interesting point. He said, what's hilarious is that so many people in Hollywood cut themselves up and deform themselves into what they think is an ideal.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Madonna.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Everyone.
Goodyear blimp.
Let's move on to the next hot topic.
I thought we're done with hot topics, right?
So
we are?
Well, it's been
I thought
50
we were going to
minutes.
talk.
we had Dolly. Did you want to do Dolly?
No, I think maybe let's do our deep dives. We can move our other hot topics. You know what? We'll call it leftovers. We'll call it leftovers, and we'll push it into next week.
Fine.
So do we want to start with vaccines or friendship?
Well, I'm not doing vaccines. I changed my hot topic.
Oh, Madge, I was so excited about vaccines.
Well, I couldn't get enough information I couldn't get enough horrible. I was finding horrible, hilarious stuff I'm on this group called the Chicago Vaccine Hunters, but it was, so I found funny stuff, but they kept deleting the comments that were funny, so my heart wasn't in it, so I want to talk about something else. So if you want to do your topic first, that's fine.
Okay. Let's do my topic first. So I want to talk about friendship. And to introduce this, because what we do now with Eat This Hot Show is our hot topic segment are the appetizers. And then our main courses, we're going to do 2 deep dives. And there are a few things that I want to say before we get to the meat and potatoes. Genderless potatoes. First, Friends is one of the most overrated shows in TV history. It's basically a swingers party. They all fuck one another, and every other scene Lisa Kudrow says something funny. The meteoric success of Friends is textbook celebration of white mediocrity. Okay, so I said that. The second thing that I need to say,
I've never watched it.
Me neither.
Oh, you're not missing anything.
I stole the haircut, though. I did steal the haircut. You gotta admit, the haircut was everything back then.
Oh, the Rachel?
Oh my God, I did. I did the Rachel.
The Rachel, yeah.
It was in.
I remember
Rachel
that was when Visible Changes at the mall was a thing. You go to Visible Changes, then you go to Glamour Shots, you get it all done. You can pick up your Seiko watch.
I love when you talk about any of those mall stores like Chico's, like Talbot's.
Casual Corner.
It's one thing I really loved about Barb and Starborough is that they talked about those kind of stores too. But go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I love Barb and Star. We want that Trish monologue.
Oh,
if somebody can get us the Trish monologue in audio, I
can get it. You. I have it on the thing. I didn't know you wanted it.
It's still in theaters.
Yes.
How are you going to get it?
Carefully, very carefully.
From renting it. Okay, second, one of my favorite Bette Midler covers is that song, You Got to Have Friends. So I wrote a very quick, just a few of the lines gay version of some of its lyrics. Don't make me sing. Don't make me sing.
Sing it.
Okay.
Sing it.
You gotta have friends. The feeling's so strong. You got to have friends. 16 candles long, duck dong. Standing at the end of the bed, boy, waiting for my new friend to come. I don't care if he's hung or cock poor. I gotta get me some of him. Okay, said that. Thank you.
That was bravo.
Looks,
Oh my God.
Bravo.
They threw,
Bravo.
we just got a DCMA for that. You were so on key. The algorithm.
I love the
go.
I love the John Hughes film from the 80s reference. I'm sure a lot of our younger
Oh, he's
audience
been
will get that.
canceled. Don't talk about him.
LDD.
I like it when the character who says "Don't make me sing" when somebody goes to the piano, she's like, "And a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4." Oh, I missed it. Okay, so
Trish at Christmas, forget it.
Trish at Christmas, forget it. Okay, yeah, and Barb and Star, that's actually a very nice transition because that's all about like having a close friend and then what happens. How does your friendship evolve when a man comes into the picture? Okay.
And she dies in the end. Oh, that was Beaches. Never mind. Sorry.
The end of friendships have become less explosive for me as I mature. My circle of friends is also a lot smaller. Friendships that no longer work for me tend to fade away like a pungent fart. But some friendships are harder for me to shake than others, even when I realize that they're not doing well. And I just want to kind of like share this anecdote about my friend Phil before I play a clip for you. And so get ready, Madge. Get ready to hit it. So,
I'm ready to just say hit it.
Okay. So I have a friend named Phil, and we've been close friends for probably like 13 years. And little, it's like death by 1,000 cuts where somebody does something and you're like, okay, that's not a big enough deal to like end a friendship with. And, like he would invite a bunch of friends out, but not invite me, or they'd go do something and not invite me, which kind of just feels sucky. And so, he had very compartmentalized friendships.
Exactly. That's the word I was going to use because I know somebody like that too. And he compartmentalized my friendship too. It would like have different sections of friends, right? And I was like his C list of friends. But I would never get invited for Saturday night. Never. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm guilty.
A lot of people are. I mean, you have people that you do certain things with. You may have certain friends that you play Fortnite with, or certain friends that you call when you're upset. That's very natural. But some people do it to such an extent that it makes their other friends feel like crap, and that's problematic. So at the beginning of the lockdown, and by the way, I've been in lockdown for 353 days and taking it seriously, and I got the first dose of vaccine earlier in the week, so I'm very happy about that.
Lucky girl.
But I got into my car and I went to start it and my battery was dead.
I thought you were going to say your car blew up.
I remember this, Reagan.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is week one of the vaccine where we're all just trying to get to the store because of all the panic buying and stuff like that. So Phil lives just a few blocks away from me. He is who I consider to be like, if something's happening to me in a jam, this is who I need to go to. So I call him up. I explain the situation. I'm like, hey, would you be willing to pick me up and take me to AutoZone just so I can buy a new battery? Because I didn't want to pay for an Uber to do that. Spend like $30 just getting there. But, this is why you have friends. And then there's an AutoZone in our neighborhood. And so he goes, that's a hard no for me. And
why a hard no?
It was like adding insult to injury. I think maybe he was trying to be funny or something, but being serious, like he wasn't going to do this for me. And I ended up getting AAA insurance because I figured, okay, maybe I just need to get it now. And I did it myself, but I have not talked to him since. And I do these Facebook purges periodically, just getting rid of friends or people I don't communicate with. For some reason with him, it's like hard for me to finally pull the trigger. And so that made me think about how during the pandemic, the way that we're all dealing with friendships, like some friendships just fading away, other friendships, the pandemic is having this really odd effect on friendships.
Work friends, people you thought were friends.
Right. Yeah.
But see, you have you have no family near you, and that's what I find. I could not imagine just living out there by myself and not having, because family you can always call.
Right.
And so when you think you have a feel that's, might as well say like extended family, that's a blow.
Try living 5,000 miles away and no family. It's even worse.
But you have a wife.
No, I mean,
I live my life by the golden rule. And so no way in a million years, if he contacted me and said, ask for that, would I say no? I would. Yeah, right. I'm happy to do it. I'm sitting on my ass during a lockdown. What else am I going to do?
So you dumped his ass?
Pretty much. But I just haven't unfriended him from Facebook because I guess that makes it final.
It's final. That's a
statement. Well, you better do it because you already named him, so you might as well. You named him on the ground.
Yeah. Well, so I want to play this clip that I listened to right before. It comes from a podcast called the Life Hacker Podcast, and they had a PhD come on who studies relationships. And it's about a 3.5-minute clip, but it talks about, basically, just to set it up, why we struggle more with friendships a lot of the time more than intimate relationships. So hit it, Madge.
Oh, wrong clip. I'm sorry.
We sort of have at least a general blueprint of what a romantic relationship should look like, what the trajectory of that looks like. And we don't have that at all for friendships.
Absolutely. That's very true in terms of experiences like making friends or dating. And certainly, a lot of what I hear and again, from personal experience is that making friends can feel a lot like dating, but we don't necessarily talk about how awkward or uncomfortable it can be, or just how difficult it can be to meet like-minded people. And I think that's even more true when we talk about ending a friendship, because for the most part, the norms or the etiquette about how to end a romantic relationship, that's quite clear. There are very clear expectations about what we should or should not do, whereas we don't have those same ideas or expectations necessarily about our friendships.
We actually asked our audience for questions, which we're going to get to, but I was really struck reading them about just how much pain there seems to be in these problems people have with their friendships.
Yeah, relationship difficulties of any kind are very strongly linked with our mental health and well-being. So we see that having conflict or ongoing difficulty in our relationships with friends, partners, family members, that really can take a toll on our well-being. There is something unique about our friendships. And I've said this time and time again, but one of the things that makes our friendships so powerful and important and so strongly linked with our sense of well-being and mental health is the fact that they're voluntary. So unlike our relationships with our partners or our family members, where there is the expectation that to some extent we have to stay involved in each other's lives, we don't see that same expectation when it comes to our friendships. And so what that means is that friends do have to choose on an ongoing daily basis to remain involved in each other's lives and to stay connected in that way. And that's why we can feel so close to friends and why kind of the validation and support that we get from our friends is so meaningful. But it's also why when they come to an end or when we struggle in our friendships, it can be so devastating and really, really hurtful.
So how do you know when a friendship isn't working?
There are lots of different ways to look at this. So I would say, the first 3 main reasons why friendships end. The first would be because of some kind of big betrayal where the trust in your friendship has been kind of irreparably damaged or shattered. I would say that actually tends to be the least common reason why friendships end. More common would be kind of an accumulation of smaller conflicts or difficulties that build up over time, especially when the same issue happens over and over again. So, for example, a friend who is inconsistent in the way they treat us, they're up and down, they're unreliable in some way, so they're canceling plans last minute, they're not showing an interest. When we see these kind of small difficulties build up over time, what often ends up being kind of the last straw is this idea of there is no openness to change or feedback. And so when we've communicated to our friends that this is bothering us, that this is hurtful in some way, and when our friends continue to behave in a certain way, that can really signal the end of a friendship, because at that point, it's not just about the initial conflict, it's about kind of this bigger lack of respect. I would say, though, that the most common reason why friendships end is this gradual growing apart. That obviously, as we age and as we move through life and we enter different life stages and we have different experiences, our needs and our values and our perspectives can change. And obviously, that's happening at the same time for our friends. And so we can end up in places where we aren't able to connect as we used to because of kind of practical concerns or barriers, or we just we don't have as much in common anymore.
I think that point about the slow accumulation of small grievances is a really good one. And in my own life, in these situations, I feel like I've hit a wall very quickly and decided immediately that I'm done.
Can I say why I like this topic first? I don't have that specific stuff to say yet, but here's why I like the topic, and I mentioned this in a chat that you probably didn't see. But my topic is very political and very divisive, as are most of my topics. This topic I like it because it's not political, it's not divisive, but it does have a political impact. And I think, and also after hearing that clip, when I think of how we deal with friends, I think that's like a big reason why our society is fucked up. And I haven't really analyzed
Well, it's so
it.
subjective.
Yeah. Like the way we treat other people, it's just like magnify that times, 300 million. And that's our country.
How you treat somebody is if you classify them as a friend, right? A stranger on the street, you might not buy their food, right? But if you're friends with them, then you'll spend $60 on a dinner for them.
And how we treat these people, these friendships, and how important they are and how quickly we dispose of them versus how much we try and nurture them and how honestly we are with people versus ghosting people. It's all a reflection on society as a whole, I think, somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. As I was researching the topic, I found some fascinating data. Harvard scientists have found that the biggest predictor of health and happiness in old age is your relationships at 50. So by the time you get to 80, the number one predictor of how satisfied you are in your life are friendships. They also provide I think, very instructive multi-pronged definition of friendship. First, a friendship needs to be positive and make you feel good. Second, it's long-lasting. Third, it has reciprocity and cooperation. And finally, you can rely on the person. When I heard this clip, the part that really spoke to me was when the doctor said, if you go to a friend and you say, look, something is happening, it's a problem for me, it's hurting my feelings. If the other person isn't willing to change direction, isn't willing to evolve, then there's nowhere to go.
But that assumes you're telling them. That assumes you're having that conversation. You're telling them.
You have to be able to tell. But I had to end another friendship with a guy named Matt because I love how I name the names. I bring the receipts. I say it.
Not the Big Brother lady.
No, I love him. We're like family. Mm-hmm. But because anytime I would go to him with a problem that I was having, he would use that as an opportunity to be like, well, how about what about us? And when you do this, or when you do that, when you do this. And I'm like, okay, all of that is valid. And we can have a conversation about that. But it seems a little opportunistic that when I'm coming to you, apropos of nothing else, saying, here are problems that I have that are potential deal breakers for our friendship, that all these other things only become an issue for you when I'm, let's handle these issues one at a time, in other words.
See, I don't do that. This is my problem with friendships, is I've lost so many friendships because they annoy me and I don't lay it out for them. I just ghost them. I've done that so many times.
Well, see, I'm a very private person, and I compartmentalize every aspect of my life, from work people, from people that are, maybe from I just go to the movies with a certain person. And then what I would consider true friends are just two best friends. And that's really it. Mm-hmm. I think because especially in my line, it just makes things simpler if I do it that way. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like I have people I can trust, and then I have people on the outside that want my company, and I can give it to them in that area, but I'm not able to fully open up. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, part of the trust, part of building trust, is being able to say to somebody who you care about this is hurting my feelings, and know that you're not going to be attacked for that. And it takes a level of maturity. Also, when somebody says to you, hey, Ragan, you're hurting my feelings when you say X, Y, or Z, I have to be able, and I'm not saying that I always am able, sometimes, I'm human, but if I care about somebody, I have to be willing to hear what they're saying and go, you know what, you're right, and I'm going to try to do better. But I apologize, I'm going to try to do better.
But what if the friend is doing stuff that you really don't think is in their power? Like, it's just such a part of them. Like, I had this friend, every time we'd go out to eat, he would just spit his food everywhere. And like a piece of egg here, a piece of egg there, a bagel there, some bacon there. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. And everybody, so we always used to go to this group of people, and everybody tried to avoid this person because he spits his food. And he lost so many friends, and nobody would tell him. I couldn't tell him either.
Now, was this J. Howard Marshall?
I don't know.
Was that who that was?
Who was that?
That's Anna Nicole Smith's husband.
Oh, does he do that?
His soul rest in peace.
But yeah, my thing is like, because I lost 3 friends this year. Not COVID. One suicide, Tammy, who was on the show. I was still, incommunicado. I was talking. I'm getting my negatives mixed up. No, I had a relationship with her on the phone with this show. But I had 2 friends. I broke my wrist in August, and I was in the ER. I got coincidentally got 2 phone calls within an hour that 2 of my best friends from college had died. And the first one died 2 years before. I just found out 2 years later that my best friend from my roommate, who I lived with for over 3 years, was dead for 2 years. I didn't even know about it. And my other friend was a good friend. I found out 2 weeks after she died, and I talked to her the day before she died. And we were best friends. We went to Amsterdam together, best friends. But both relationships just faded. And I'm like, oh, I'll get to see her. I'll see her. Oh, your kid's 8. Now it's 12. Now they're 20. Now you're dead. And it's just, all I can say is don't let those relationships fade, because then before you know it, they're dead.
And the thing is, you have to understand, and this is again is subjective, and I'll tell you what I consider. But like, what is a friend? To some person, like I could talk to somebody on the street and they think we're friends. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a line that's so subjective. But to me, I find that in my line of work, in my ladiness, I think a friend is someone who can tell you you're fat and you don't get upset about it.
Debra, you're fat.
That's how I classify a friend. Like, if I can talk to you about my weight, then we're friends.
Okay.
My good Judy, she'll call me up the phone. Listen, honey, you sent me that picture the other day, your cabinets. I saw a reflection. And honey, you need to work on that because you've gained like 60 pounds during the pandemic. And I'm like, that's a friend. She's worried about me, having a heart attack or blah, blah, blah. I'm saying, like, that's what I consider a friend. I wouldn't let a stranger on the street call me fat, but a friend.
Yeah. See, I don't do the compartmentalization thing because I've been compartmentalized by other people and I find it very hurtful. But, because I feel like I'm not in the right area. Like, if you're friends with me, be friends with me. If you're not, you're not. And that's different being an acquaintance, which is different. But I don't want to be your 5th level friend and say you're friend. You know what I mean? Like, if we're friends or we're not. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, if I feel like if I'm somebody's plan B, I'm not into it.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
And I made about
What about your movie friend?
Who?
Who are you talking about?
Mad. I mean, no, not Mad. You don't go to the movies. You pirate everything.
What?
Who's my movie friend?
Oh, you mean
one that chews the ice.
Oh,
we
yeah.
still go to movies when the theaters are open.
We had kind of one night we were out drinking and we had kind of this weird explosive argument, and then we're friendly now, but we're not like friends anymore. And about 2 years ago, I really just kind of cut ties with a lot of the kickball friends that I had made that I was going and doing everything with, and it was a huge circle of friends. But I just saw some, if you're friends with like kickball people, then there tends to be, you have your alpha gays, and I was very close with one of the other alpha gays, and it was just too much alphaness. It was a guy, Matt, who I said, you know what, I just can't, I'm not in this anymore. Like, this friendship is no longer working for me. But the problem then is that everybody else is connected He's the queen
Sorry,
bee.
what does alpha gayness mean? Can you elaborate?
Like, he's the queen bee. He's the glue that holds all these otherwise disparate groups of people together. So if I made a decision, so this is what did it. The New Year's going into 1 week before 2020, or maybe 2019, I forget which, I was at a bar, I drank too much, I got into an argument with somebody, and the guy ended up assaulting me and punched me in the face, and I had like blood running down my face, and it was a very traumatic experience for me, and especially because I was kind of like blackout drunk, and I woke up the next day.
Well, and you had blood coming out of your whatever.
Out of my whatever, yeah. So I told him about that. He never picked up a phone, never called me. This is somebody who I've gone on vacations with, who when he moved back to LA, I picked him up from the airport. I took a day off work to drive him all over, to go apartment hunting. I've done so many favors for him, so everything is on his terms, right?
And that becomes
narcissist? Yes, 100%.
See, that's your problem.
Right, exactly. And so I realized that and decided I can't do this anymore. And just to give you an idea, like 2 months went by and he still had never picked up the phone to call me, which was really hurtful to me because I really considered him at the time to be one of my close friends. And he knew that I was hurt. And so he sends me a text message like a month and a half later, and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I was like, and I had already talked to my therapist about the situation, and she gave me really good advice. And I said, things have been rough, and things had been rough, really rough for me. I mean, I was getting over an assault. And he goes, "Oh, okay. Hey, did you ever get my Christmas card? Because you never responded to it." And I responded, and I had already kind of anticipated this with my therapist. And I just responded, I said, "Matt, I'm going through much bigger things right now. I don't have time to talk to you about your Christmas card." And we haven't spoken since.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was aware. I was, I put a lot of thought into it, but I love what this person is saying, this expert is saying, that if you think about it, if you go into the self-help section of a bookstore, there's all of this literature that tells you how to get into romantic relationships, how to end romantic relationships. All of, you have guidebooks for doing this, the different love languages you can speak. But when it comes to friendships, there's really no roadmap that you can follow. As you mature, as you get older, you become more aware of like, okay, here's the stuff I'll deal with, and here's the stuff that I'm not going to deal with anymore. And a lot of that has to do with loving yourself and saying, hey, like, I'm worth more than somebody not calling me for 2 months after an assault. I say 2 months. He never picked up the phone and called me.
So is this would you classify this as a best friend?
We were very, very close. He was one of my closest friends.
That's the problem that I think gets confusing. Now, obviously, we're online friends. We haven't met each other in person, but I do remember when this happened, because you live very open, at least on Facebook, you know. I mean, so I don't know. I might have not left a comment. I'm sure I might have said something.
I have a very limited audience on Facebook. I have like 140 friends, but I go deep on my Facebook.
Yeah, but he could have at least just did like a sad, I don't know if they had that back then, the sad face, text you at least. I don't know. How do you think he takes the friendship?
He texted me, but to me, that was not like, you live in the same area as me. Like, you can't...
It's not like you're every week. There's like, okay, Ragan got stabbed last week. Okay, he got shot the week before.
And it was the beginning. It was an eye-opening experience for me because I had to say to myself, because after I made that decision, I had to start like going out by myself. But I've lived in LA long enough to where when I go out to bars, there are people who I know, so I'm not by myself. But I'm glad that I did it. It made me stronger. It made me, it's not like when I was younger where I felt trapped in friendships where, well, if I'm not friends with this person, then I'm going to have nobody. Like, that's not it's not a healthy approach to relationships.
Mm-hmm. In my life, okay, so My problem is too many. Now, I'm not talking online because, I have an online persona, if one will, Granny Gamer. So I don't want to go too far into that. But I will say in my life, personally, I'm not one to want to be friends with everybody, but everybody wants to be friends with me. And that's one of the reasons I have to compartmentalize it, because I just can't handle it. And what I've realized is when this pandemic started and I had to go away to my summer, I call this my summer home, right, for health reasons, so I, wouldn't get sick. All these people in my life that I just consider these people acquaintances, really, I wouldn't class them as friends. I mean, were constantly wanting me to call them, and they, I had to validate their issues and stuff. And it was so overwhelming that I went into this dark, deep lockdown. I don't even think I talked to Madge for a little bit. I didn't want to do any shows.
In a dark space. You were in a dark space.
I couldn't handle it. And so, like, now it's just my best friends and my online girls. And the rest of the people, I just can't deal with it. And I know this it's a bad thing in some ways, because maybe I'm doing what this gentleman did to you. Maybe these people have seen me as best friends, but I just couldn't, because it was just too many people, way too many. I just couldn't handle it.
I think sometimes, and I think this might bridge into my topic if you want.
Okay.
Which is, there's a pattern, and I was influenced a lot by this documentary I mentioned earlier, this Adam Curtis documentary, but he views this time period that we're in as a period of rugged individualism, and talking mainly about America, that we're so individualistic that all really anybody cares about in this country is themselves. And I think the way we handle friendships, and in fact the way that the advice from that person was also in the same way, it's all geared towards taking care of you, not taking care of the friend. And let me just tell you something. Andy Vera, who used to be a co-host of this show, I don't think I'd be married today if I didn't take her advice. And her advice to me in a relationship that she repeated over and over again in her show was, when I'm in my relationship with my husband, I always put him first. Always. And I'm not saying you should do that with every friendship, and I certainly have, and I've explained that I've had terrible problems with friendships. But maybe that's something we need to do, is say, no, don't look at it in terms of you. Look at what your friends need. If you want to be a good friend, if you want good friends, then put that person first. Put that person before you. And I don't mean that it's just about what friendships. I'm talking about society. And I think, and this is where it branches in my topic is about why Democrats don't do shit for progressive policies. And I think part of it is that really maybe we just don't want to as a society, because we really are individualistic and we really just care about ourselves and individualism. And, like when a lot of this stuff with masks, it's like we only care about ourselves. So many people, they care about themselves. We don't. We pretend to be interested in the collective, but we're really not. And then we have the other extreme of collective, which was communism, which, has failed for a number of reasons. But so I think, and Adam Curtis at the end of his interview, he says, I really don't know what's next. But it appears that what he's suggesting is that maybe what's coming next is some sort of compromise between individualism and collectivism that somehow will meet in between. But right now, society is purely individualistic, and it's a problem. And Debra vanished. She's just staring at me now. I don't know what happened. She's back. So what I wanted to talk about is I have a conspiracy theory that I believe in. I'm going to share it, and you can tell me I'm crazy, which you probably will. But it's backed up. And in fact, my source of the conspiracy is somebody who I respect, but has also been accused of conspiracies himself, which is Glenn Greenwald, who is a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter. And he has constantly been accused.
Alex Jones?
No. I just said his name, Glenn Greenwald.
Okay.
And he's constantly accused, like, when I post things from him, some certain people will be like, and I don't want to name names, Brian Place, but people will be like, don't mention that. Oh, that person. It's the idea of dismissing the person. Glenn Greenwald has earned his credo as a reporter. I mean, he won the fucking Pulitzer Prize. He's credentialed, right?
Yeah.
So he's earned the right for you to at least to hear his opinions, but people will shut him down instantly and say, "Oh, he's a Russian troll," in the same way they'll say Trump is, or McConnell, or all these, this whole Russian fear thing, and they'll just shut him down, not listen to his ideas because they disagree with him, and they just immediately dismiss him as being a Russian troll. Well, I was investigating that, and I've bought into that in a lot of ways, because this guy, he left The Intercept because he accused them of censorship because he wanted to report on Biden's son right before the election, and they basically said, no, we're not going to do that. So he left The Intercept, which he was one of the founders of. I'm very upset about that. Honestly, I wasn't on his side for that. I'm like, of course you could potentially make Biden lose the election for this. I mean, this is the reality of journalism.
Yeah.
And he's done other stuff, like when he talked about the Pulse nightclub shooting. I can't remember his take, but I vehemently disagreed with him, and I even had a little Twitter exchange with him about it. I just disagree. But the thing, so like I get in that trap, and then I'm like hearing people say, "Oh, he's a Russian troll," and he's the one that helped expose Edward Snowden. He's the one that was in that, that helped Snowden get to Russia and all that, and got his papers out, got what he had to say out. So I started thinking, yeah, maybe there is something to that. Well, then, and I want to investigate my own bias. So he was on, and this is in, and I'm going to play a clip too. In November, and I believe it was like maybe the day after the election, before we knew who was going to win. And he talked to one of my favorite podcasts, which is Useful Idiots with Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper. And he talked about how he changed. Why? Because he's one of those people, and maybe I'm not giving enough background, but he's one of those people that he's always criticizing the Democrats to the point, and he goes on Tucker Carlson, and it'll be like criticizing the Democrats way more than he criticizes Trump, right? And you're like, what is it? So it's easy to put him into that narrative. Well, he's obviously a Russian troll because he's criticizing the Democrats. So, but on this show, he explained why, and that's the clip I'm going to play. It's a little long, so deal with it.
From 2005 to 2008, before I got into I completely hate the Democrat stage. I used to be one of those like progressive bloggers who always thought, oh, they just need more spine.
Exactly.
They really want to do good things, but they're just afraid. That whole like Daily Kos like mythology for children. And I remember what they used to do is, there'd be like some bill, and I would get really excited. It would be like to ban or to guarantee habeas corpus for war on terror suspects, so they get at least one crack at a court before they're like thrown into prison for 3 decades. And this is something the Democrats were campaigning on and were denouncing. And every single time there'd be a bill like that, it would always fail by 2 or 3 votes because of Democratic defections. But they would always make sure that the defections rotated, so you could never focus on any one who is terrible. They kept just rotating it, so it was like that kind of game when you play with the kid, you have that hammer and the things pop up and you have to smash them, but you can never actually win because they just keep popping up.
Whack-a-mole.
And I call it villain rotation. That's it's whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
They're experts at that. The Democrats are expert at denying their voters what they pretend they want to give them.
Right.
And then pretending that they're really upset by it. So Mitch McConnell is the perfect excuse for the Biden administration to just be as centrist-y and pro-Wall Street and pro-Silicon Valley as possible. There's always some theory to pretend to their liberal left progressive base that they really, really, really want to do these wonderful things that's being demanded of them, and yet they just can't because of some pragmatic impediment.
Did you have an aha moment that made you realize that it wasn't about spinelessness and obstructionism, but rather about what they wanted or believed in or did not believe in or did not want?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, remember when I first started writing, it was, 4 years after the 9/11 attack, 2 years after Iraq, when that national security repression was very much in the air. Democrats felt very constrained. The discourse was very limiting and repressive. And so I always thought that the Democrats were just afraid, and especially after John Kerry's loss in 2004. Remember, they really wanted to nominate Howard Dean. They got afraid that if they did that, they would be too far to the left and would lose to George Bush. So they nominated this jello-y, uninspiring figure in John Kerry and lost anyway. So I just thought it was like a kind of fear-driven political miscalculation. And then once Obama won with this amazing mandate, he had like an army of millions of people behind him with the Obama for America, majorities in the House and the Senate. And, you know, the first thing they started doing was thinking about how to help Wall Street and bail out the banks, and continue the Bush-Cheney civil liberties assault and the endless war on terror with all of the, you know, radical Article 2 theories of executive power that nobody was forcing them to do. Then it just became so obviously true to me that they weren't doing these things that I was angry about because they just lacked the political will or the political courage or whatever. They were doing those things because those were the things they believed they and wanted to do to appease their donor base. Like when you really like look at what the Democratic Party is, it's not very hard to see once you look at it from that perspective.
So this is the conspiracy. And the conspiracy that I, at least for the moment, and you're welcome to disagree with me, agree with, which is the fact that the Democrats don't really want these progressive things. The assumption many people make, many mainstream people make, is that, oh, they really want Medicare for all, or they want to fix health care, or they want a minimum wage guarantee. People believe that. What I believe is the Democrats do not want that because the donors that give them money do not want that. And in fact, the average salary for Congress is well over $1 million. They're mostly millionaires, and that's the conspiracy that I believe in, and that's why Glenn Greenwald and I heard him in a Freudian slip. I'm not going to play another clip where he actually admitted to being a Democrat, but the point is that, like, that's why he's so mad. So I'm really interested in two ways: from the conspiracy aspect, the substance of it, the fact that, and this is what I want you guys to comment on, is that I really do believe that that's what's happening. It's going on right now. It happened with the Medicare public option under Obama, and I see it happening right now under our eyes with the with this minimum wage thing. I think they don't want that at all. They're playing these games. They're playing this game with the parliamentarian and Kristen Sinema and Manchin, and it's all just a shell game. It's nonsense because they don't want it because their corporate donors don't want it. But the other part of it that I'm emphasizing is just that it's great for me to look into this person who I really didn't like and understand his motive and see him as a more three-dimensional person. So you're welcome to comment on that.
I mean, it sounds valid. I mean, the thing is if let's say the $15 doesn't get passed, it's easy to say that's the reason. And there's really no way to back off on it, because at first it was, we'll get the Senate and all this is going to happen. Then it started to leak that the new boogeyman's not Mitch McConnell anymore. It's Manchin, right? Manwich, or whatever his name is. And then once which, you know what, now that I think about it, I don't know if that's so true with Biden, because okay, let's just take it as, okay, if this was some conspiracy, right? That they were going to have the boogeyman be Manchin, and then if that didn't work, it was Christian. Then why did Harris go down to his state and doing her little campaign thing behind his back? That you know what? Now that I think about it, that just ruins my idea. I don't know. I mean, it sounds valid if it doesn't get through. I can understand why somebody would see that. So I'm not going to say that that's not the case, because so much money is spent in this country with these campaigns and back deals and back alley,
abortions.
But I mean, I'm sure corporate media, Amazon's running these ads right now, and I think this is kind of telling. Amazon's running so many ads and on network TV, on digital mediums, on Twitter. $15. Amazon supports it. And they show these clips of, we've changed our workers' lives with $15, and they're so much happier now, and they pack so much faster. And that was because of Bernie.
Bernie's the one that forced them to do that.
No, but I'm saying exactly. We know that, but Amazon's trying to spin this, that the $15 was their idea. Mm-hmm. That the $15, they looked at studies and said that their workers pack 15% faster and don't steal PlayStations when they're doing this, when that's not the case. I'm sure that they're funding Republicans to take away a minimum wage behind the back alley or whatever, right? But they're trying to show face that we're fighting for 15, when no, if you're fighting for 15, honey, we'd already have it. Like, Amazon is Amazon the richest corporation?
I don't know.
Like Jeff, 1 minute he's rich and 1 minute he's under Elon Musty. But I'm just saying, if they wanted 15, this could have been settled between Walmart and Amazon. This could have been settled 5 years ago. So this, you know what? I can kind of agree with that, Madge. I'm not going to try to fight it. No, but the only thing is when Harris went to Mansion State, that sort of messes that up. So I can see it. I can see it. Ragan?
I don't know if I believe in a conspiracy. It's hard for me to think of the Democrats getting together. Call all the troops together. Let's go into our secret room and determine which two are going to be the baddies this month. I don't know if I believe it in those terms, but I do believe that this is baked into a system without campaign finance reform. And that campaign finance reform, and I've been saying this for years, is really the key to solving, I would say, 70% of our political problems in the United States. We have to get the money out. Interestingly, I watched a special about Mitch McConnell, and the way that Mitch McConnell built his name was being one of the few senators that was against campaign finance reform, because that was one of the things that all the senators, all the people in Congress were like, oh yeah, of course, we need campaign finance reform. And then he went against the grain and was like, you know what? No, I don't think we need to have money in politics and capitalist society. Now, the entire thing is just we have these deep-seated structural issues with the way that our democracy works. We were going to talk about stimulus caps as one of our hot topics, which I guess we'll get to next week. But one of the things that I wanted to say in relation to that is pork barreling legislation is another huge problem. So you look at the money that is supposed to go to the COVID relief bill, and one of the ways that this has become politicized is you have people coming out and saying that, well, only X portion is actually going to COVID intervention, and then you have
Smithsonian money, or the SOAP.
Well, like PolitiFact, there's a U.S. representative named Scott Fitzgerald who claimed that 91% of the spending in that package wasn't really for pandemic relief. PolitiFact fact-checked him and found out that that was completely wrong. But 15% is what's actually going to non-relief measures that include a $1.5 million bridge between New York and Canada and $480 million for Native American language preservation. By comparison, $160 billion of that goes to direct pandemic intervention. But one of the things that I'm getting tired of is that they tried to put the $15 minimum wage into pandemic relief, so that muddies the waters.
Oh no! See, this is where I strongly disagree with you, and I can explain why. And
okay.
I've had this discussion with people on Facebook, and here's the thing. Here's why it is relevant, because part of the COVID bill is the unemployment benefit, which I'm not sure. Deborah probably knows better, but it's either $200 more a week or $400 a week.
So
like
it's $300.
Okay,
well, the new one will be $4. Currently, it's $3.
Okay.
It'll be $4.
And it was $6, right? At some point. So
yes,
here's the
it was
problem,
$6 in the beginning.
Is that there are a lot of people who actually will probably prefer to stay on unemployment because they make more money on unemployment than they do from their wages. And many people, like right-wingers, will say, well, obviously that's a mistake. You can't, that means you shouldn't give them so much money because they're getting more money.
But you don't have the choice.
But right, hang on. But they're saying, oh, you shouldn't obviously you shouldn't give them that extra $400 because then they're not going to work. That's the wrong take, because the right take is that means they're getting starvation wages, and that's why you have to bring the minimum wage up, because aside from the fact that it's a fucking starvation wage that people are making, but the fact that you're going to not stimulate the economy when you're paying people to stay home because they're making more money on unemployment. It doesn't make sense. And then somebody responded to me.
The issues are so, I'm not denying that the issues are not interconnected. One totally affects the other. I get what you're saying there, but they're also independent enough and huge enough to where they shouldn't be part of a single package that you give an up-down vote to. And this is just one example. When we look at the history of U.S. politics, and it's not, pork barreling is not unique to the United States.
I think pork barreling.
I don't think it's a pork barrel.
I think it's appropriate because really we've got to the point now where no pork. Everybody says it whether they agree with it or not. But that's one of the reasons why a lot of things in the past could get passed. The reason you could get the ADA stuff passed is there was pork.
Right,
you've got to throw things in for the other people to get their votes.
I'm not disagreeing with your argument, but I don't think this is a pork barrel issue because this is a stimulus bill. It's about
I don't think this is pork barreling at all.
COVID, but the stimulus will not work without the minimum wage. It just won't. You're just going to throw away a lot. I mean, it'll work a lot less, let's say, because you're throwing away a ton of productivity. You're just throwing money away because those people aren't going to work, even though they could.
We're not going to get a $15 minimum wage out of this anyways. So your point is kind of moot. What I'm saying is that when it comes to these big issues, we're not going to get the $15 minimum wage. Like no legitimate person in Washington believes that we're going to get the $15 minimum wage through this route.
Not this one.
Yeah, I just think
because they
does
won't.
Us,
I mean, they could.
It does us.
Well, they were going to do it through reconciliation, but the reason they couldn't is because it went to the committee. When he would have to, the parliamentarian, or whatever it is. That board has those Republicans on it. From my understanding, so the
there are also Democrats.
No, but the votes were not there to add it that way. And there's, I mean,
no, that's this Chris and Sinema, Joe Manchin. That's the two remaining votes thing. That's the two leftover vote. It goes back to that. But you can whip the votes. See, they're not trying. They're not trying. They can whip the votes. That's the job.
Well, they did.
Yeah.
With Harris, though, that's what's so confusing.
That's not whipping the votes. Whipping the votes is saying you don't get you are not going to pay for your campaign, Joe Manchin and Chris and Sinema, if you don't approve this fucking bill. That's what Mitch McConnell does. That's how they whip their vote.
Yeah, totally.
And you say, parliamentarian, guess what? We're changing the fucking rules, or we're going to break the filibuster, because that's what Mitch McConnell fucking does when we have a Supreme Court justice that dies 10 months and then he's a fucking hypocrite. We don't play by their. We're afraid to break the rules, and they break the rules.
No.
I
don't think that. I agree with the Greenwald guy that you're talking about.
They use the rules.
It's not the misconception is that Democrats
we're not playing by the rules.
That they are playing by the rules,
yeah.
and that things are just it's just so unfortunate that we always have the majority, but we're so disempowered in this country as Democrats.
Right.
But that's not really what Democrats are. Still a corporate class. They're beholden to corporate interests because that's where they get their money. You want the NRA out of politics. You want big corporations out of politics, special interest, which is what all if we got their voices out of politics, and it's not getting their voices out of politics, it's getting their dollars out of our politicians' pockets. So politicians stop being beholden to those special interests.
Adam Curtis made a really powerful point in his interview too today on Chapo, which was that so we have an ineffective managerial government system. The neoliberal system is a managerial system. There's no change. Progress is hope and change. Those are advertising slogans. It's bullshit. Basically it's status quo. Why does fascism stick? Because fascism gives you a way to change shit really quickly. Fascism means change, boom, change, take over the country, stick your military in, boom, you're done. Hitler did a fucking shitload of change because he was a fucking fascist. And that's what attracts people like Trump, to Trump. You have to fucking do shit or you're going to end up with another fucking fascist. Who is that guy?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
who's Adam Curtis?
So I just want to mention one more thing, which is that one of the comments...
My mistake.
In the exchange that I had with a cousin of mine, not my whore cousin, another one, about
do you want me to show it?
Because she was arguing with me about this. Basically, she said, because I had posted the Kamala Harris thing where she said maybe a year ago that she's in favor of the minimum wage, and then Lady Bunny had posted, so I reposted what Bunny said with some comments. My cousin went on to a whole bunch of reasons with me while she didn't agree with me, which is fine. which I wouldn't go into. But at the end, she said, you shouldn't post stuff like this, Madge, because we need to win in 2022. And by posting stuff like this, you're going against the Democrats, and we're not going to win, and we're going to lose.
That drives me crazy.
And I didn't respond because it's a cousin, and I was so angry. But I posted on Twitter passive aggressively, basically like, wait a second, because I was thinking about, wait a second, you're the person that told me I can't complain about Medicare for all before the election because it'll make Biden lose. We have to stick together. Now he fucking won, and you're telling me I can't criticize him because we need to win in 22? Are you kidding? So the only point of winning is an election is to win another election. Now you're inviting fascism. That's how Trump comes. I mean, it's fucking insane.
And I think winning is what you're able to look at a bullet point like Trump's wins, whatever, if you want to call them that. They've had their bullet points that he did this and he did this. He did the goddamn wall, whether you agree with it or not. He didn't really do it, but he started it, and that's a win. And that's all that matters. And I think we were told $15 an hour. We were told extended unemployment benefits. We were told this and this and this. And well, Biden really didn't say Medicare, but
no, he said
some type
public
of
option.
healthcare.
Public
option.
Yeah,
okay.
Fucking where is it?
And exactly. And it's like, get it done. Now, I will say, when he first got in, I was shocked. He was signing some EOs that I was like, whoa, he's doing it.
Okay, and let's give him some credit. He's done a lot of good things, too, with the vaccine.
And he has on his side. So in presidential area, he's done as much as he can do. But I think he needs to whip up fucking the Senate and Congress, because use your power.
And see, my paranoid conspiracy is that
he doesn't want to do those things,
that's right.
Debbie.
That's right.
He's not
then send Harris to be the boogeyman.
That's my point. No, you're not listening, Deborah.
She's the same way. They're all beholden to the people who line their pockets.
Oh, I agree.
And as long as that's the case,
because if they weren't, there would be direct payments.
They'll go on the campaign trail and they'll say, "Oh, we need a public option. We need this. We need that." But when push comes to shove,
they don't want to do it.
They really don't want to do it. It's an empty.
We're being tricked. It's just like with the...
It's the same thing as Trump... not the same, but similar to Trump going on the campaign trail and saying, what do we want? A wall. Who's going to pay for it? Mexico.
Or when they talk about... Or the right-wingers dangle the abortion thing. Oh, we're going to make abortion... They love that. They eat it up. They're not going to make abortion illegal.
You think Trump cares about abortion or religion?
They just dangle it to get us to vote for them, because all they fucking care about is corporate fucking power, and they're a minority in this country, so they have to fake us into voting for the power that's going to protect these goddamn corporations, and it's fucking bullshit.
Well, but that's the thing, is they claim they hate Nancy Pelosi. They want Nancy Pelosi gone. If she's gone, your boogie woman's gone.
Whatever.
Same thing with abortion.
Well, there'll always be
abortion.
Hold on.
Abortion
There's
was
always
illegal.
going to be a new boogie person. You look at
AOC.
who was the guy? Well, no, not just AOC, but like on the right, the guy who worked at Fox News, who
Bannon?
was the anchor.
Lou Dobbs.
No, not Lou Dobbs.
Chris Wallace.
No,
There's
older.
so many horrible.
Older.
Yeah.
Roger
Older
Ailes.
and fatter. Older and fatter.
No, not Roger Ailes. He had a show.
Bigger than a bread
Lou
box.
Dom. Oh, I know you're talking about Bill O'Reilly. There you go.
Bill O'Reilly. Thank you. Deborah saved the day. Yay, Deborah. Hold on.
Bill O'Reilly.
Well, she used to work with him.
I'm Mrs. Iglesias.
Okay. Yeah. So you cut off his head, and Tucker Carlson's head grows in its place. Which, speaking of Tucker Carlson, because one of the ways that we see this, it hasn't just infiltrated politics, but you look at how the major media is owned by basically, I think, 5 or 6 corporations. It's ridiculous now. But I watched this really fascinating documentary on HBO called "The Lady and the Dale" about the development of the first 3-wheeled car in the 1970s by a trans woman named Liz Carmichael. And
Liz is a great name. She really does Christmas. Not as good as Trish, but she's good.
Trish, Liz at Christmas? Forget it. And so Liz Carmichael, when she was presenting as a male in her earlier life, just led a very debaucherous life, a very criminal life, was manufacturing fake money, did just a lot of stuff. She got married, had a bunch of kids. Long story short, when she was in San Diego or somewhere in Southern California making this three-wheel car, the San Diego news anchor came to do an expose on her and something didn't sit right. Basically, the guy was like, that's a man. And the connection between this car is not real. This car really can't function. And this is not a real woman. Those stories became intertwined, which I think was really fascinating. But it turns out that this anchor who did the hit job on Liz Carmichael is Tucker Carlson's father.
What?
And so at the
at
the end, it's only 4 episodes long. At the end, you have Tucker Carlson's father in the 1970s doing all of this anti-trans stuff, purposely misgendering Liz over and over and over, and then cut to, it's like interspliced with Tucker Carlson saying all this anti-trans stuff. It's really, really fascinating.
So what was his Tucker's father's position exactly?
That basically...
No, I mean position like career-wise. What was his job?
He's a conservative.
The father.
Yeah, Dick Carlson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, what was his occupation?
He was a bottom.
He was a news anchor for a local Southern
So he was a
California
news anchor
station.
too. Okay, that's what I didn't know.
That's Tucker Carlson, but that's not his father.
In the middle, and he's his father.
No, that's not.
Who's
Tucker
the one on the
Carlson's
right?
father.
Oh, it says Dick Carlson.
No, that's not the father.
Penis Carlson? Well,
because he's in the documentary. Anyway, I highly recommend it. And Susan Stryker, who's this amazing trans academic who, when I taught queer theory, we read one of her books about trans history, and the class plays a large part in it, developing commentary, because one of the things that was landmark for Liz Carmichael is that she got the courts to acknowledge her as a woman. And I think that was one of the first times in U.S. criminal justice history that had happened with a trans person. But, then Susan Stryker had to say, look, this person has a really checkered... Yeah, look, I mean, they look very similar to one another.
Really?
Yeah, no bow tie.
All right, we should wrap up. Is that what you're going to do, Deborah? You're going to wrap up?
Hold on. Mm-hmm. Did you say wrap up?
P.S. No condoms. Cowboys love riding bareback.
Yes, I did. Should I play this? I'm going to play the outro unless we have something. Anyway.
Well, I guess closing thoughts. Everybody, how does it feel to be back with Eat This Hot Show? I'm so excited.
I think we had some really good discussions. I think everything went pretty well considering this is the first stream. Be sure to sub this channel, Insane Films, but there will be its own YouTube channel, which it's already out there. It's Eat This Hot Show.
We just weren't validated in time or something. Right?
Yeah, it had a countdown. Apparently, it hasn't been enough 24 hours before it validates.
But follow the Twitter account for any updates. That's the best thing to do. Twitter/Eat This Hot Show. I don't think we have.
Let us know your opinion. We talk about a lot of different issues, and we're interested. We may read your comment on the air and debate about it.
Yeah, and also, since this is live, we've got talking points because, corporate media has paid us to only do these certain episode talking points. But I do think in the future, we probably will be getting more involved maybe towards the end of the show with comments if there's something you really wanted to say in chat, and you wanted us to react to or something. Apparently, JFK was just assassinated.
Oh, and we have an email, eatthishotshow@gmail.com.
Now, Debbie, you said something about a stream. So we stream, if you're listening to this in the podcast, we live stream our show Thursdays at 5 p.m. Central Time. And speaking of stream...
I think I'll take a rain check.
A golden rain check. With chunks of beef stew in it.
Can I make a comment on your Greenwald audio for a second?
Yeah.
I thought you had a recording of me talking playing in the background. Whoever was interviewing Greenwald on there with the crazy bird, I thought that was me for a second.
Where's the bathroom?
That was Katie Halper.
Where is the bathroom?
She kind of sounds like me, but can we shoot the goddamn bird? I'm sorry. Put the bird in a pot or something.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to play the outro, so we're done.
Okay. Bye,
Anyway,
everybody.
It's been great. Thanks.
Like. The algorithm likes. Bye, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Remember, abortion is not a sport.
That's true. Make sure you hit end. on the YouTube side first. Don't
Oh,
end
really?
in OBS. Yes, always end in YouTube on that thing.